Hello, everybody, and welcome to our final fourth community of practice session for the California Early Math Initiative. We're so excited to have you all joining us. I know we have a couple folks just still coming on into our session together. So just on behalf of the AIMS team and all the partners of the California Early Math Initiative, I want to just give you a very warm welcome. We're thrilled to be together today, and we're so glad that you've been able to join us for this final community of practice session for the 2020-2021 academic school year. We're going to go ahead and get started. And so I'd like to just give an overview of what we have planned for today. And then we'll do a couple things here just at the beginning, and then we'll get into the really fun stuff. So just some opportunity here to again welcome you and to reconnect. We'll do that in just a bit. And then at 1:15, we'll be going into our first breakout session, and we'll be being facilitated by our AIMS coaches, our AIMS coordinators, around boats that float. So you'll have a little bit of time to gather some things, but we'll be definitely looking at ways that we can continue to learn together online, but also really harnessing the power of hands online learning, investigation, thinking through ideas around mathematics and curiosity, and also doing some experimentation and some engineering and looking at what might happen in that session. So super excited about that. And then at 2:15, we'll have a break. We'll return at 2:30. And at that point, we're really excited to take some time to reflect together as a group about where we've been, what our work has looked like over the last year, and even before that, maybe the previous year, to look at this journey that we've been on together and to think through ways that we've both been impacted by this work and the ways that we have had opportunity to impact others and those that we work with through this work. So we're excited about this half hour of reflection time. We know that it's not enough time to capture all of the things that we may have experienced or the ways that we may have interacted or the things we may have learned, but we hope that it's an opportunity to engage together in thinking through what has been impactful in this project for us, what has been meaningful. And we are just thrilled too with the opportunity to highlight some of the words that you all have chosen and selected as words that were meaningful and that sort of summarized your work and the impact of your work. Thank you to those of you who went on to our Flipgrid and were able to record some of those videos, talking about your word, talking about your experiences and what you learned. So excited about those. So we'll have some time in that 2:30 half hour to look at some of that and to really begin to celebrate, although we know, again, we're just kind of scratching the surface of the kinds of reflection and celebration that we might be able to do in that time. And then finally, in the last half hour at 3 o'clock, we'll have some conclusion. We'll be able to share, again, some resources that are available to you going forward. And Matilda would be with us to share some Matilda moments at the end, including some great information about what we might all be able to expect going forward for this work and for the initiative in general. So just to sort of give a welcome to everybody, would you just take a moment to say hello in the chat? Just to make sure that our chat feature is working correctly, but also just to say hello. And would you let us know your name and organization? And I know sometimes it varies with who's here and who's able to attend today. But if you would just go ahead and give an introduction in the chat. We'd love to see who's here and which organizations are joining us today. So I'm going to just pause for a moment and let you all do that. And I encourage you all to just also take note of who all is together today. Wonderful. It's great to see everybody who's here today. If you have colleagues that were not able to be here, you will just have to tell them what they missed. No, as usual, we are recording this session and we'll have this posted following our community of practice event, following the session, so that anybody who was not able to be a part of it can join afterward and take part in what we're sharing and doing today together. So again, thank you to everybody. Throughout the session, if you do have questions or thoughts or comments that you'd like to add, we encourage you to use the chat feature and share those out. Again, we want to just emphasize that this session is a community that is focused around all of us together, and that we share this space together today. So again, welcome to everybody. We're glad you're here. Before we move into our breakout, I just kind of want to do a little reconnecting around three big ideas. And these three big ideas framed the work and intent and the purpose of our community of practice. And these are drawn from decades of work in community of practice meetings and in community of practice groups across a variety of different fields, both in education and out of education. And much of this work was done by Etienne Wenger and colleagues around sort of what makes a community of practice function, and what makes it, what gives it its identity, and sort of what is the purpose and intent of such a community. And so I just want to bring us around these three ideas, and we're going to have a chance to sort of touch on these a little bit later in our session as well. But first, there's this idea of a domain, and the domain is really about the shared interest, the shared values, the key issues that the community is about. And if you remember, if you were part of the very first institute here in Fresno at our AIM Center, we talked about really developing this sort of shared sense of the importance of early childhood mathematics education and what that means and what that relates to. And so we brought in ideas around play and playful engagement, around cultural responsiveness and what it might mean to honor the resources that children and families bring into early childhood math education. We talked about the importance of professional noticing and being able to really harness and make the most of children's thinking, both in classroom and out of classroom learning. And so those key issues, those key ideas became the real core of our work. And then what was so great was to see how we were able to expand this work this year, especially into thinking about take-home kits and family engagement, and thinking about other resources and videos and other materials and things that we could draw in through literature and other activities, and through maker fairs and through a variety of different activities. So that domain, that shared interest, really formed the identity of this group. And it's been so powerful to see how it has emerged, but then how it has grown and developed over time. And then the second aspect of our work together is this community. It's the relationships that were built through our discussion, through the activities that we were able to engage in, and through our learning together. More than anything, I hope you've sensed that this has been a learning community. This has been a learning community for all of us in a variety of different ways, both as we have learned more about what it means to engage in mathematics and to confront mindsets about it that we may have had going into this project, but then also the learning that we've been able to facilitate as facilitators with other educators or with families or with young children. And so our community around learning has also developed a sense of trust. I hope that you have felt a sense of trust, both in the work that you're doing with us and the work that you're doing in your local communities. And then finally, our practice. What is our practice? What has been the practice of the Early Math Initiative work? And largely in these sessions and in your meetings with your AIMS coaches, we've developed a body of shared knowledge. We've developed methods that we've been trying out. We've developed stories about engagement and about how mindsets have shifted, how people who have been afraid of mathematics, who have had negative experiences, are reaffirming their relationship to mathematics in new and more positive ways. and really in identity shaping ways where we can all say we are mathematicians and that we are able to engage in this practice every day. And then what's so exciting has been to see the tools that have been developed, whether they're videos, whether they were resources by our partners at West Ed, whether they were activities and one-page activities that can be used in a variety of settings, or whether they're tools that you've developed in your work that have emerged as a part of this initiative. Excited to see this body of knowledge and practices that we all share, and the ways that they have been able to adapt into different environments across the state has been just a privilege to see and a privilege to be a part of. So very, very excited about this community, the work that we've done. We're excited that that it has a future and that there are exciting things to come. And so thank you for engaging in these 3 areas of our community. And we hope today that you'll find additional ways to deepen your understanding and deepen your learning in all of these different areas. So with that, I'd like to get ready for our next section. We're going to be going into our breakouts. We'll be going into boats that float. So in just a moment, you're going to see opportunity to join a breakout. That's going to come up onto your screen, and then you're going to be able to select your base group. And again, these will be by region. So we'll have the North and the Central area, the Bay Area, and then the South area. And those will be facilitated by Elin, by Brooke, by Scott, and by Bev. So we'll encourage you to go ahead and join those breakout rooms, and then we'll get started with that activity. So I'm going to stop my screen share here and let everyone get into their breakout rooms at this point in time. And again, you'll see a breakout rooms at the bottom, and you can click on that, and then you should be able to join your different rooms. Again, if you have trouble with this, you can put a note in the chat and just let us know which breakout room that you'll be in, and we can assign you to that room and get you moved over there as well.
But it's nice to see everybody. It's hard to believe that this is our last community of practice for the year. And feel free to during the breakout session to utilize the chat. In fact, I'm going to open that up so I can make sure I can see what's going on. Feel free to utilize the chat, or you can unmute and share as well. This would be a really fun activity. You get to open your last bag that you received in the mail. Well, I wait a few more minutes while we're waiting. If you want to guess how many books I have my computer on so I can stand while I present, you can do that. If you want to. Let's see.
You needed one of those standing desks.
I do. Okay, so can everybody see the slides?
Yes.
Great. I'll give you it. I have more. It's more than 5 books. Less than 15, but more than 5. Oh, 8. See 8. Close. 8 is close. Oh, Christina got it 10. I have 10 books stacked on my table. So we'll go ahead and get started. Our activity for today's breakout session is boats that float. I hope you're ready to do some fun exploring and designing, making your own boat. We will be using some material. So if you haven't had a chance to go grab your materials, you will need the items that were in your last bag. So the squares of tinfoil And then we provided you with some marbles. And then you will also need a container, plastic bin, medium size with some water in it. And if you would like to do some, we'll have a chance to do some further exploration. So if you have any additional items around that you want to grab, some small objects to try out in your boat, like coins, small plastic toys, etc., feel free to grab those as we get going here. I'm just going to share a few things. So as I'm sharing, feel free to grab your items. So during this activity today, I'm going to ask you to think, where is the STEAM in this activity? What STEAM items in STEAM do you see surfacing? And when we talk about STEAM, we're talking about the science. The S stands for science. So any concepts relating to science, whether it be physical science, life science, and then the T stands for technology.
Do you know where the volume is on here? For the computer.
Technology and
Can
technology.
you put the volume? I'll sketch you up way up here.
Is not necessarily
We can hear them now. Never mind.
computers, but it can be tools that you use. Like it can be pencils, anything that you're using. And again, if you're not sharing, if you want to go ahead and you can mute yourself. So feel free, if you're not sharing or if you're not speaking, if you can go ahead and mute, that's fine. And just so we don't have extra noise. The E in STEAM stands for engineering. So engineering is, creating and designing things, dealing with the structure of how things are put together, how you take things apart. And then the A is art, and the M in STEAM stands for math. So dealing with numbers, geometry, data, statistics, so anything relating to math. So again, as we go through this activity, be thinking, where is the STEAM? Where do you see these things surfacing? Or do you see any elements of the STEAM surfacing? So this slide just has a few different types of boats. There's some pictures of different types of boats, like a canoe, motorboat. This little boy has made a boat or a raft by just putting together some pieces of boards. Are there any boats that you have experienced that you don't see on here? If you want to throw those in the chat, you can. So are there any types of boats that you've experienced or seen that you don't see? See a pontoon? Yeah, especially around summertime. A ferry boat. And think about how those boats are designed. How do they float? So all of those are boats, but you notice they all have different designs. They're not all built the same way or use the same type of material. And so some boats are designed based on the cargo, what they hold. You have like luxury cruise ships that are designed to take people on vacations for multiple days that in comfort, provide meals. So they're designed for that. Then you have a cargo boat, which is designed to carry a lot of weight and multiple storage containers on top of each other. So how is that designed? And then you have this boat that's designed obviously for one person, and it's see-through so they can enjoy and look at what they're floating over and designed so they can move with the oars. And then you have some boats that are, their design is based on the material that they have. We have two canoes. The one on the left is made entirely out of reeds. That may be what they have access to and have found that floats the best, may be able to hold the amount of people that they need to float. And so they've tied the reeds together, or that material together. Actually, I see some braces across, so maybe that's where people can sit and possibly use oars to move themselves. So they were able to create something that floats out of reeds. The canoe on the left is actually made out of concrete, and it was designed by a group of engineering students, possibly at Fresno State, but they have these engineering design challenges where they have to build a boat out of materials that you wouldn't think float, but they are actually able to design them in a way so that they float. And apparently this canoe is very fast as well. So not only does it float, but it is very efficient in the water, moves very quickly. So again, sometimes you have boats that are designed based on the material that you have access to. So now we're going to think about our first design challenge. We're going to design a boat that will float and hold some marbles. So I'm going to adjust my share so you can see my screen, my dot cam. So can everybody see that? My water? Okay, so in your bag, you got some marbles. And I know some of you may have done this with kids, just exploring things that sink and float. So before we actually test out our objects, I'm gonna drop the marble in, and that definitely sinks to the bottom. So glass sinks. I also have a towel handy. Then I also grabbed some coins, just some pennies. So I'm just going to see, and pennies are made out of copper or metal. And I'm dropping the penny in. Pennies sink, they don't float. And I'm noticing these are about the same weight if I feel them both in my hand, the pennies and the marble. So then I'm going to try. I also pulled out, and again, with your bowl of water, if you have material that you have around that you grabbed and you want to try out to see if it sinks or float, go ahead. We're playing together today. So I'm going to try out these little pieces of dominoes, or these little game pieces that are dominoes. And I think these are maybe like a hard plastic. So I'm trying those out, and they sink. I also grabbed, because my husband and I like to build Lego kits. I have some Lego kits. So here I have, I think this is Ray and I don't know, an Imperial soldier. So I'm gonna float or put them in. They float. And as I'm just exploring these different items, I noticed that these are definitely heavier than the marble or the pennies. And so it's interesting. I didn't do it, but I could, you know, in engaging in this activity with younger children, you might ask them, you know, and make some predictions. Do you think the penny will sink or float? And yeah, and then, you know, do you think the marble will sink or float? And then do you think the Lego people will sink or float? So see, have them make some predictions. Ooh, that's science, investigation, observation. So now we can think about our design boats, our boat design. Before I move on, does anybody want to share in the chat? Are you exploring with some other materials that you have around you? Were you surprised by things you found that either floated that you didn't think would float or sank? Okay. So I have some, so tried some things that floated at first, but then sunk. Paperclip didn't float, a paper tab did float. Exploring with paper clips, so interesting. Yeah, and maybe that, again, that exploration of material, thinking if, maybe thinking about if a material absorbs water or if they're able to, you know, not absorb water. So like I'm thinking paper might float at the beginning, but then sink because it would absorb water. So just that's my hypothesis. I would have to test that out. So foam, yeah. So foam floats. So yeah, interesting to explore with different materials. So in your bag, you got some foil, some squares of foil. So we're going to design our boat with this. And for this first design challenge, let's just use one square. So I don't know, I maybe gonna make mine a little bit like I'm gonna pinch the two corners in and then maybe fold these down. So it looks like almost like a little canoe. Because I feel like with the tinfoil, that's a boat that I'm familiar with and that I've seen that I can sort of, so that I can make that shape. Again, it'd be interesting to ask students, you know, what boats they've experienced and what are their shapes and could they replicate that shape with the tinfoil. So I'm going to try my boat. And it floats, yay. My boat floats. But actually the challenge was to create a boat that will float and hold items. So not quite there yet. So, but it is interesting that it floats. And what I think is interesting is that this foil is made out of metal, aluminum, and the penny's made out of metal. And the penny sinks and this aluminum floats, which to me is just sort of like, but you know, maybe it's because it's just thin and you know, it just the way it think about like the surface of the water, that there's that tension. And so just really, really interesting. So I have my boat. Did anybody else have success with their boat? Do we have boats that are floating? Yay. Okay, so I'm going to try putting a marble in and seeing if it floats. Oh, so I've made a boat that floats and holds a marble. I'm going to try 2 marbles. So it holds 2 marbles. Let's see. 3 marbles. 4 marbles. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. So I know it holds at least 10 marbles. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's going to hold 11. 12. Okay, so it holds 12 marbles. I know I'm going to see if I can, or actually, if it'll hold 12 pennies. So I'm going to take my marbles out. I'm going to try some pennies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, I have somebody that made a boat with the big marble and it floated. Yeah, because there is a big marble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I know my boat holds 12 pennies. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So at least 24 pennies. Now I gotta try and see if it'll hold 24 marbles. I can't stand it. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Oh, 16. Ah. So 16 marbles. My boat is getting sort of waterlogged, but I think it'll still work. Just because I'm curious, I'm going to try my my dominoes just to see if my boat will hold them. And they hold the dominoes. And I could probably get about, I think I could probably get about 10. One, two, three, four, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. So at least 10 domino pieces, but it was like 20, 23 marbles. And then just for fun, let's try some oh, 21 marbles. Wow. I'm gonna try some of my little Lego people. So here's, anybody get past 21? I have Christina has 21. So it's interesting, the boat will hold a lot of Lego people, which actually, knowing that they float, I'm not surprised because they're lighter. And even though they're all different sort of shapes. So 21 marbles, wow.
Here
So
you
that
go,
was all-
Sherry. So
Oh.
maybe I cheated. Oh no, as I showed it to you guys.
Christina.
I had it, it was more in a round shape.
Uh-huh.
And literally as I'm showing you guys, it sunk. But I
Oh.
got up to 21 marbles and it held for maybe a couple minutes. So there you go, Sherry.
Wow. Awesome. Okay, so that gets me to our, let me do a new, let's see. That gets me to our second design challenge. So our first design challenge was to design a boat that will float and hold some marbles or any other objects. So I know I accomplished that. Did everybody else feel like they accomplished that first design challenge? You can use, if you want to use the reactions, give me a thumbs up. Awesome. So our next design challenge is design a boat that will float and hold more marbles in your first boat. So you can use, I mean, we gave you a more than I think we gave you about 5 pieces of tinfoil. If you want to use more than one piece, that's fine. I heard Christina share that she modified the bottom of the boat, so it was more of a circle. You can do that. So just so now your second challenge is to design a boat that will float and hold more marbles in your first boat. So I think my boat held 20 marbles. So I'm going to see if I can build a boat that will hold at least 25 marbles. That's my goal. So I'm gonna share my my webcam again. So here I go. Feel free to, I mean, I'm just showing you my webcam as I'm exploring, but feel free to explore however you would like. You do not have to copy my design. Feel free to do whatever you want. I wish I could see everybody had a webcam so I could see what everybody else is doing, but I'm sort of playing around with the base. So I'm making mine more of a square base. Let's see. I think I'm gonna only use one piece again. But again, I'm sort of pinching the sides and just gonna see if this works. One, two, three, four. A lot of counting involved in this. 5, possibly some fine motor skills if you're thinking about where you place your 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10. That was not expected. That's interesting. So that actually holds less.
Yeah, I'm going to copy Christina's design and see if I can do it.
So a circle?
Yes.
I wonder if I did 2 and made play around with my first design, but use 2 pieces of tinfoil. So again, maybe expanding it a little bit more. Two, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. 14. 16. 17, 18. 19, 20. 1. 2. 23. 24. Oh, I'm seeing that somebody did a square design and they were able to get 13. That's good. I think this is 24. Oh, 24, 23. So I think there's definitely something to that, more of a circular design. Yeah, so there's that balance of making it circular or the and just because I have the pennies close by, I'm going to just experiment with a wide boat and some pennies. Because I'm just curious, just based on the shape of the cargo, if maybe it's flat, if it'll hold more. So I had 23 marbles. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, I think. Hopefully I'm counting right. I didn't mess up on my counting. But so the boat holds about 45 pennies, which again is amazing to me. I don't know if it's just because of the pennies are flat versus the marbles that are round, because they're about the same weight. So again, if you're designing a boat, thinking about what kind of cargo you're going to be holding is probably something to think about too. So really, really interesting things to think about. Anybody else experiment with other material or putting other objects in their boat and could fill their boat with a lot of maybe paper clips? Or the foam, or actually making a boat out of foam? I'm going to take my pennies out. I can actually see that. A little bit of water. So lots of fun things you could do with the tinfoil and the objects. Let me go ahead and go back to my slides. So our second design challenge was to design a boat that will float and hold more marbles than your first boat. And as you were designing your boat, or thinking about that second design challenge, what adjustments did you make in your second design and why? And I see some people are sharing in the chat. So somebody shared, Jenny shared that she made a square and a rectangle boat, but they didn't hold as much as the circular or the like a canoe design. Okay. Oops, I want to go back to that question. So anybody else have anything, any adjustments that you made in your second design and why? I know I was trying out the square surface just because I thought that would hold more marbles, but it didn't. Oh, Mary sharing that she made the sides taller. So to keep the water out. And keep the objects in possibly. Okay, using double foil. Oops, I'm going at the bottom and the sides. Okay, so a lot of adjustments that you can make, and you could tell me why you thought about making those. So making it more the size taller or sturdier. Okay, and thank you, Claudia, was sharing that her first design was shaped like a canoe and was not successful, but on her second attempt, she tried having more surface area on the bottom and it seemed to work. So making adjustments based on what you did in the first. And so all of you, thank you for sharing, and you were able to share why you made those adjustments, why you were thinking of trying something different. So again, thinking about that investigation and observation. Right, the taller sides allow more give in the water without taking on the water. So again, thinking about how the water is reacting to the surface of the boat. Great. So I'm going to share another slide that has some unique boats. So the one on the left is a Chinese junk boat, which they've used for centuries, and have really unique designs. The sails are made a specific shape, and a lot of times the families live on these boats. So think about, again, you're including the culture of your students. Maybe they have encountered boats, or that we think about all different types of boats, because when you say boat, and you show them a picture, they might not connect with that boat, but they know they may have encountered something that floats on the water that is a boat, but they haven't made, again, there are many types of boats. So just giving that space for children to explore things that they have experienced that float, that they've floated in, what they're used for, to carry goods, to carry people, all those different types of ways that boats are used. And then the ship on on the left is a really interesting boat, a unique boat. It's called a flip boat. It's a research vessel. It's a floating instrument platform. That's what FLIP stands for. And it was built in 1962. And it is 365 feet in length. And it can, when you see a picture of it horizontal, and then they're able to pump 700 tons of water into the handle so that it goes to a 90-degree angle, and they use it for research purposes. It's in San Diego. And so when it's vertical, they actually use it. They have people that go down and they pull samples. And then when they want to move, they just move it so it comes back horizontal. And that process of the pumping the 700 tons of water takes about 30 minutes. So for it to go from horizontal to vertical takes about 30 minutes total. So I just think that is so interesting. It's like a big spoon in the water. It's so cool. I think that's really amazing. Really, really amazing. And we know that a lot of times children's books that can be a venue to pique children's interest into an area, a concept. So maybe the idea of floating. So here are two examples of children's books. Who Sank the Boat by Pamela Allen, and What Floats in a Moat by Linda Berry. And just again, that idea of introducing this concept with a fun book. And these are linked in our activity page that we have, which I'll show you in a minute. But we have one more design challenge. So we played with the tinfoil, but there might be other things that float that you could use to design a boat. So I'm going to go to my screen again, my webcam. And again, because when we were exploring this activity and utilizing the Lego people, I thought, well, maybe they want to go on a peaceful float along the river or just on the lake. So I used a lid, like a lid to a plastic tub. And then I know they probably didn't want to be piled on top of each other. So I used part of an egg crate or egg carton to make some little divided seating areas, and then decorated, put a flag. So we can put some people in the boat, and they can have a nice lazy float down the river or the lake. And because of where the flag would be positioned, when you blow on it, it would go around like in a circular motion. I was thinking of, those rides that they have at amusement parks where you're in a circular vessel and you move around and around. Oh, and I see that Erica's sharing Who Sank the Boat in our visual arts curriculum. Great. Yeah, so just thinking about different items that will float. So again, I wanted, thinking about how I wanted the Lego figures to float. I wanted them to have a nice peaceful ride, relaxing. But maybe they want some more adventure. I want to go faster, so I built a more of a speedboat, sailboat type boat out of half of a, this is half of a, like a small carton. And then again, didn't want them to be all piled in on each other. So I put some egg crates, part of an egg carton, and made a little steering wheel so they can decide which way they want to go. And here I'll put Captain Marvel and one of Donald Duck's nephew in. And a sail. And so if they wanted to go more in a straight line, so this boat is designed for that. And they can go back and forth. So definitely designed for different purposes. So your challenge now is to find 2 more items you want to test to see if they will sink or float. And or can you find another item you could use to build a boat other than the tinfoil? Do you see anything around you that you could possibly use to make a boat? Oops. And go ahead and test it out. So again, I had just some, I made that one boat with the lid, but I was wondering if the actual container would hold. And it does, but it's interesting. I think you really have to think about where you. Let me try with that. All wanting to go to one side. It's really interesting when you think about just like weight distribution. So I don't know if it's showing up on the webcam, but because of the angle, but I'm trying to get them to be more evenly distributed, but they seem to be wanting to go to all at once. So it's tilting. Interesting. Did anyone find some interesting things that they think would make, that they can make design a boat out of? either that you have around you right now, or it could be something that you're like, you have either in your classroom or just something that you could try. Milk cartons, yeah. I heard somebody mentioned phone cups or bowls. So yeah, possibly, other containers that you get food in. Be interesting to explore lots of things. I'm sure you're going to be you're going to go home and you're just going to look, and everything you're going to think, I wonder if that could be a boat. Let me test it out. So I want to come back to this slide. Where is the steam? So we talked about this at the beginning. And I saw a little bit I saw some connections during the chat, but as we went through this activity, the boats that float, what elements of STEAM did you see surfacing? And again, when we say STEAM, we're talking about science, technology, engineering, art, and math.
I feel like throughout the activity, you almost see every portion of these incorporated, because you're incorporating like the counting, the art, kind of your creativity. Engineering is and technology, science. It's really like, kind of collaborating and figuring out how you're going to make the boat, and all the components, and brainstorming, and you see all of that incorporated. So I think this is one activity that I would say you see each of the STEAM incorporated in the activity.
Yeah, you're right, Jenny. You see a lot of, all the elements of STEAM in this, and they actually overlap a lot. It's hard to put them into silos. And I'm looking in the chat and I see all of them: math, counting, the engineering, the boat design, science, thinking about the weight distribution, the counting the objects, hypothesizing what will float, counting, so math, engineering, designing. So yeah, it's all, when we think about STEAM, it's all those elements, and a lot of times they all in an activity all overlap. So lots of opportunities for science, technology, engineering, and math, and art all in this activity. Yeah, definitely, creating and designing and their boat, and just making it fun and interesting to them, incorporates a lot of art. And I love the design aspect of this, thinking about the purpose of the boat and what materials you have. What are you going to have the boat carry, and that makes a big factor. That's something interesting to really think about. So lots of fun stuff in this, and a lot of really rich activity that kids can just really, you can take it in any direction, and a lot of good questions, vocabulary. So I do want to point out that we do have an activity guide for this on our website on aimcenter.org in the resources. We did do a webinar on this, so there's a link to a video. The books that I shared, the titles are from the Early Math Project. They're books that they highlight that pertain to math. So there's a link to that website. And there's some activity guides that go with the books. A lot of great resources there. If you're looking for a book to use with a certain math or science concept, that's a great place to look. So encourage you to check out the activity guide that goes with this. We have it in English and Spanish, so you can download that in English and in Spanish as well. And I think in a minute, we are going to be taking a break at 2:15. Oh, yeah, because the next slide is reflection. Oops, and we're back at STEAM. So just want to thank everybody for playing with me today, for designing some awesome boats. And I wish you many happy designing hours in the future, whether it be with tinfoil or milk cartons or lids, plastic lids. Have fun, and please share your pictures of your boats that you and your students create. We would love to see them.
We're all heading back into our main room together. I just want to welcome you back into this room. I hope that the last reflection opportunity was valuable for you. I know in our session, we talked about sort of some of the new things that we were, in a lot of ways, that we had to accommodate and take on, and yet at the same time, we learned new ways of doing things that won't necessarily end anytime soon, that we actually want to continue to put some of these things into place and build on what we've learned and continue this important journey that we've been on together. So thank you for that. And I encourage you to continue to, if you didn't get a chance to see all of the Flipgrid videos, there's such a great variety of responses that everyone shared. All of them insightful and meaningful. And there's even a song. I don't know if you got to see the song yet, but if you did, there's a great song. There's just a lot of creativity, some really cool technologies that folks have used. So anyway, just a wonderful display of reflection and creativity. I personally was just inspired by seeing how you were inspired. And so for that, we all thank you, and I encourage you to continue to view those and to take a look at that and share it. For our final part of our time this afternoon, we want to just have some opportunity to conclude, to sort of summarize, to share a few additional resources. But to begin, I'd like to turn it over to Matilda. Dr. Matilda Soria is with us today. Greetings, and glad to have you with us. And we're excited to hear from you, Matilda.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Paul. Hello, everybody. It's great to see all of you, albeit virtually. As I was preparing my talking points for today, I reflected on our time together and even partners planning the California statewide early math initiative and what's now Count, Play, Explore. We wanted something a little bit more fun. California statewide early math initiative sounded so formal. And so in doing that, I realized that it's been close to 3 years since all of us have been working together and partnering together, and a little bit more than that in the conception of this project. And so before I share with you some of the resources that have been created and where they live, and then also a little bit about some potential plans for phase 2. If you can, let me kind of give you a little bit of history. So if you can recall, there are 3 overarching components of our project. Professional learning and coaching, which all of you have been awesome thought partners in this whole process and really helped to test and pilot the professional learning and coaching within your communities and help to shape the model. In addition to that, there's a family engagement component, development of materials and resources that families would use together, parents and children would use together at home. And then also other resources and technology and communication pieces. And our goal, overarching, which takes more than 3 years, but our overarching goal is to improve mathematical outcomes for children birth to 8 years. That's what our overarching goal is. And then in the design of all of the different components of our project, we had these 5 principles in mind. one of which is starting as early as birth. You know, our superintendent of Fresno County Superintendent of Schools always talks about the importance of the preconception years, you know, starting as early as possible in order to reach that overarching outcome of increased achievement in mathematics. Also, really focusing on research-based actions that support teacher comfort and confidence. One of the things that we found in our research is that it wasn't necessarily capability, it was confidence when it came down to it among our early care and education professionals. So again, research-based actions that support teacher comfort and confidence, starting as early as possible, partnering with families. Families are key. The pandemic really taught us that, you know, when many of our programs were in remote learning or distance learning models, families were our partners. They've been our partners since the start. Also, changing the negative perceptions and messages associated with math. You know, you don't need to have a math brain to engage in math and to teach math, to learn math. There's not, you know, it's, you know, the gender, male versus female, everybody can engage in math. Math is everywhere. And finally, supporting equity and access to math, wherever that may be. It may be in the classroom, it may be in the home, it may be in the community. So these principles really shaped the development of each of the different components. We kept these in mind as we were shaping each component of the project. Now, just to kind of look at the scope of the project over the past 2.5 years. Again, we partnered with 30 agencies from across the state. These included County Office of Education, school districts, nonprofit organizations, private organizations. This included 92 facilitators or early care and education professionals, trainers, coaches, STEM coordinators, teachers, directors, administrators, etc. This equal to approximately 1,411 educators, teachers from center-based, family childcare providers, trainers, coaches, etc. And the estimate is that over 17,000 children were touched by the ECE professionals, the teachers, administrators, etc., that participated in the professional development coaching, which is really exciting. And here's some other stats that are on this slide. And I could send this to Paul and he could send this out to the group. 100% of the agencies that participated served low-income families. 93% served dual language learners or DLLs. 89% served children with disabilities and 19% served tribal communities. And you can see the map that kind of showed where all the different agencies were located across the state, which is really exciting. And again, I could share this slide and our final report via WestEd is almost complete, so we'll make sure to send that out to you once it's complete. So lots of resources were created for families, for teachers, for those in the early care and education field. On your screen is a depiction of the Count, Play, Explore math app. It's in the very final stages of development. It's being rolled out any day now. But on the app, you'll be able to find all of the different resources that were developed throughout the initiative, including the 30 2-minute videos, which are in English and in Spanish. And I believe throughout the course of the community practices, you saw some examples of some of those videos, which we're really excited about. Also on the app, you'll be able to find the book reviews. These are books that are in English and in Spanish and that have different activities for both families and also for teachers to utilize with students. In addition, you could find the research briefs that were created by WestEd, and there are 4 different, the ones that are featured on your screen. There's one on family engagement, on development of arithmetic skills and concepts from infancy through the early school years, on counting, and geometry, which is really exciting. And as other materials and resources are developed, the app will be the space for those materials and resources. You'll be able to find the app on the California Early Math Project website, which I'll put the site in the chat box, and also on the AIMS website. Once it's completed, again, it's going through final testing as we speak. So one thing that we learned is that the governor in his budget included the continuation of the Early Math Initiative, which is really exciting. It's not yet confirmed. They're still going through hearings, and there's a lot of approval process that needs to commence, but we're really hopeful that it will continue to be funded. It'll look a little bit different than what it looks like now. There will be some things that will continue. Some of the things that we've proposed include the development of a virtual train the trainer toolkit. So taking all of the learnings from our phase 1 professional development and coaching and creating a virtual toolkit that will be accessible across the state. So it'll be web-based, there'll be webinars, there'll be a host of different PowerPoints that could be downloaded and used by trainers and coaches across the state, or teachers directly. Once we develop this, and before making it available, we will be doing some pilot testing, and more than likely we'll invite agencies from across the state to participate in that pilot testing. We're also planning to develop a professional development series for preliminary credential holders and pre-service teachers, in addition to a master's degree in early math, which would be piloted in Fresno between our County Office of Ed and Fresno Pacific University. And then we would do a gradual scale up across the state. And then a higher education professional learning institute, so that we could involve and train our higher education faculty on early math. And then in addition, for families and educators, we'll be creating additional resources, including additional videos, which will be placed on the app, targeting specialized populations, including students with disabilities, Indigenous families, dual language learners, other languages, perhaps, in addition to Spanish, and then also targeting, doing some specialized videos for the parents and teachers associations, and also the CTA and other groups across the state. And then we're going to continue, of course, to refine the app and create a specialized website where all of these materials will be housed. Right now, they're housed on the AIMS website and the California Early Math Project website. We envision in a kind of a Uber website that will hold all of these materials and kind of be the go-to place for these materials in terms of early math. Right. I'm gonna kick it over to Paul, but before I do, we're really hopeful that we'll be able to continue a phase 2, or maybe a phase 2.5, since some of you are in this no cost extension. But even without funding, our hope is to continue the partnership and continue the work together, since we found such really great results with phase 1 and phase 1.5 or 2.5. I don't know what to call this no cost extension here, but and we'll continue to keep you posted on what that result is at the state level and what are our plans moving forward. Right now, it's still a little, we have these proposals, but things may change, and we'll continue to keep you posted. I'm gonna pass it over to Paul.
Great, thank you so much, Matilda. Appreciate that, as well as the great. It's so great to see, I think, some of the initial principles and guiding ideas that sort of kicked off this work, and then to see how they emerged and evolved throughout, and then even how in this last phase, with all of the adaptations that we've all had to make, how we found ways to just highlight those principles even more, such as the family engagement, or the access and equity, recognizing that this pandemic was affecting certain groups of people in more significant ways than others, and how we could then leverage what we were learning and the principles that we were sort of building this work around together into very accessible ways for families to continue to engage in mathematics learning. And wonderful to see those principles and to see those things really come to life and take on new meaning, even through adversity. So I'd like to just conclude with highlighting a few other things. And one of those things is kind of building on what Matilda shared. We've got a few additional resources that we want to share out. Let me make sure I'm getting my right screen here. I'll share this. So again, some of you had mentioned some of the one-page activity resources. Just a reminder that those are housed here on our AIMS Center, but as Matilda pointed out, much of that will be moving, and we'll be continuing to house that in a central location, and more information will be provided about that. And I also just want to highlight too some of those resources that Matilda mentioned will be a part of that new app coming soon, which is really exciting, that are also available on Early Math website, earlymathca.org, where you can find those things. And a wonderful opportunity coming up that hopefully most of you have heard about is our Early Math Symposium. And the Early Math Symposium is a one-day math event that you are all warmly welcome to attend. It is a free online event on June 25th. We'll have keynotes by Megan Franke, Brian Wright, and Joe Bowler. And then with some fantastic breakouts by AIMS team and our colleagues at FCSS and the Exploratorium and the California Early Math Project and others. And so really excited about this free one-day event. And for more information and to register, you can do that on the earlymathca.org website. It's kind of a long link, but if you go to their homepage, earlymathca.org, you will find a link for registration there. So we invite you to attend. AIMS is a very proud co-sponsor of this event, along with First Five. And we're just thrilled to be able to celebrate the power of mathematics in this one-day event, and to engage in an online format that we hope will be just as hands-on and engaging as ever. So we invite you to join us for that event. And again, I think on behalf of all of us who have worked with all of you, we're inspired. We're thrilled by the work that you've done, that we've done together. So excited to have shared this year with you. I think I can speak on behalf of all of the different partners in this initiative that can't think of a better group of people to go through this year with. And amidst the challenges, the ways that we've all had to adapt, this collection of words and stories and highlights just speaks volumes to the ways that that your flexibility and resilience have pulled us all through and made a significant impact in the lives of young children and their families across the state. So a big thank you for all of that. And we hope to stay in touch, and we hope to be in touch and to hear more news, and Matilda will keep us updated, and we will relay any news that we find out and next steps with all of you going forward.